Welcome to the series of lecture on finite element analysis. In this part, we are going to take one example problem in truss. In the earlier part, we derived the element characteristic equation for a truss problem. Since the global coordinate system is used for solving the truss problem, in truss element at each node we will have 2 degrees of freedom like u, v. Node 1 u1 v1, node 2 u2 v2 like that. So since there are 4 degrees of freedom, the size of the stiffness matrix for a truss element is a 4 by 4 matrix. A by L and this square matrix, square symmetrical matrix, for easy remembrance we are using the letters C and S. C for cos theta, S for the sin theta. If you see the arrangement of these elements of stiffness matrix, we can group into 4 2 by 2 matrix. In each 2 by 2 matrix, the elements will be same. So C square, S square, CS, CS like that. The major diagonal we have positive terms, and in the minor diagonal direction we have negative terms. So like that you can easily remember the 4 by 4 matrix of the stiffness matrix for the truss problem. And degrees of freedoms are listed like nodal displacement vector u1 v1 u2 v2. In the right hand side we have the force component vector, so f1x f1y f2x f2y like this. Now this is the general form of element characteristic equation for the truss problem, and also we derived the equation for stress for a truss element. Stress can be directly evaluated by using the equation E by L minus C minus S CS, then multiplied with the nodal displacement vector u1 v1 u2 v2 like that. So for any truss problem, the element stresses can be evaluated directly by using this equation. Now we will see one simple example how to solve a truss problem. Let us consider this example. So the loading and other parameters for a 2-bar truss is shown in figure. Determine element stiffness matrix, global stiffness matrix, nodal displacements, reaction forces and the element stresses. The Young's modulus value E is given as 200 gigapascal. Now in the diagram, 2-bar truss is given and each joints are named as 1, 2, 3. There are 3 joints. Joints 1 and 3 are supported joints. So here hinged support is shown here. So all the trusses are supported at the hinged support because we are assuming that no bending moment is acting on the truss. So that is why hinged support is shown here. When you see the joints numbering, 1, 2 is given as the first element 1, join 2, 3 is given as element 2. Since the numbering is given in the question, so we will use the same numbering. But in actual practice, if there is no numbering is given in this truss, then we have to select the left bottommost point as the starting. This is the usual practice. The left bottommost point is this one, so this one will be selected as node 1 and node 2, node 3 like that. But here the numbering of joints are given in the question itself, so we will proceed in the same way. And the area of cross section for the first element is given as A1 1000 mm square. Area of cross section for the element 2 is given as 1250 mm square, and distance between the joint 1 and 3 is 500 mm vertical distance, and the horizontal distance between joint 3 and joint 2 is 750 mm. So using these two distances we can write the geometrical coordinates for joint 1, 2, 3. The external load is acting at joint 2. So the load is acting vertically downwards. So P magnitude is 5 kilonewton. And here the load is given as vertical downward load. Now let us see how to solve this problem. First step, we have to make a finite element model for the given truss. It is a 2-bar truss, so we are going to make a 2-element model. Here this is the given engineering problem and this is our finite element model. We are using the same numbering given in the problem. This is node number 1 and 2 for element 1 and node number 2 and 3 for element 2. Now first we are going to find the element coordinates in global coordinate system. We have to take the left bottom point as the origin. Node number 3 is given as 0, 0 mm. Node 1 will have the coordinate 0, 500. Node 2, the geometrical coordinates will be 750, 500 like this. At node 2, we have to show the external force P also. At each node, we have to show the degrees of freedom. At node 1, U1, V1 are the degrees of freedom. Node 2, U2, V2. Node 3, U3, V3. In addition, we are showing the force components at each node also. So, node 1, F1x, F1y. Node 2, F2x, F2y. Node 3, F3x, F3y. After showing all these nodal coordinates, nodal parameters and nodal forces, we have to define the boundary condition for this finite element model. So what are the boundary condition for this truss problem? Node 1 and node 3, these two are supported joints. Accordingly, we have to give the boundary condition. So node 1, U1 0, V1 0, because it is hinged supported. Because it is a support, we will have a reaction force. So we are writing F1x is equal to R1x, F1y equal to R1y. At node 2, we have free joint here. So the load is acting at this joint 2. There will be unknown displacement U2 and V2. We have to find it out. And F2x is 0. Why F2x 0 is taken here? Because the external load is acting vertically downwards. No horizontal force is acting at the joint 2. So that is why F2x is taken as 0 and F2y is considered as minus 5 into 10 power 3 Newton. That means vertically downwards, so it is considered as a negative force, so it is minus sign. Suppose if the load is acting at joint 2 like this at an inclined direction, then this load will be resolved along the x direction and along the y direction. Then we will have component of F2x and component of F2y also. But in this problem, the load is given only vertically downward direction. So F2x 0, F2y is minus 5 into 10 power 3. At node 3, we have U3 0, V3 0 and reaction F3x is R3x, F3y is R3y. We have to find out the two unknown displacement U2, V2 and unknown reactions R1x, R1y and R3x, R3y. We have to formulate the element characteristic equation for each truss element. So first we will take up the element 1. So element 1 is the horizontal element with node 1 and node 2. So here the element 1 alone shown here. So node 1 and node 2. At node 1 we have U1, V1 nodal parameter, U2, V2 for node 2 and F1x, F1y, F2x, F2y the force component. And nodal coordinates are given 0, 500 and 750, 500 like this. Formulating this element characteristic equation, first we have to find the length of the element. So this is the length of the element, first we have to find it out. So since the element is horizontal, directly we can find the L1 is the difference in the x coordinate is simply 750 mm. So length of the element is 750 mm. Next we have to find the cos theta value, sin theta value. For finding the cos theta value, we have to use this equation x2 minus x1 divided by L1. Always you have to select the second node minus first node. x2 minus x1 divided by L1 and this will be equal to 1. And sin theta, we have to use y2 minus y1. This is y1. So y2 minus y1 divided by L1 which is also equal to 0. Since the element is horizontal, so we have cos theta sin theta term as 1 and 0. If the any truss element is vertical, then you will get cos theta 0, sin theta equal to 1 like that. Cos square theta is 1, sin square theta is 0, cos theta sin theta is 0. After knowing this cos theta sin theta and length L, we can formulate this characteristic equation. So this is the element characteristic equation for first element A1 E1 divided by L1, then C square S square CS CS. We have to write this 4 by 4 matrix. Then nodal parameter U1 V1 U2 V2 F1x F1y F2x F2y. Substitute the values of A1. A1 is 1000 mm square. Young's modulus is 2 into 10 power 5 Newton per mm square. Length of the element is 750. Cos theta is 1, so 1 sin theta 0, CS 0 and S 0. So 1 0 0 like that we are getting. And in the right hand side F1x is replaced by R1x reaction component and R1y y direction. F2x is 0 because no horizontal force is acting, and F2y will be equal to P by 2 because the load is acting at the common node. So half of the load is taken to the first element and the remaining half will be considered for the second element characteristic equation. So we are getting minus 5 into 10 power 3 divided by 2. Now you have to simplify this constant. Keep this 10 power 5 common outside the matrix and take the remaining terms inside the matrix. Then you will get the final characteristic equation. This will be the characteristic equation for element 1. So 10 power 5 is taken common. So 2.667000. So 2.67 is nothing but 1000 into 2 divided by 750 will give you 2.667. And the right hand side we have R1x, R1y 0, and here we have minus 5 into 10 power 3 by 2 is nothing but minus 2500. This is the element characteristic equation for element 1. Now we have to derive the element characteristic equation for the second element. Consider the second element is actually the inclined element. So that inclined element is shown here, node 2 and node 3. The coordinates are 750, 500 mm. Here node 3 is 0, 0, and nodal parameter U2, V2, U3, V3. Force components F2x, F2y, F3x, F3y. Now we have to find the length of this element. So length of the element L2 is equal to, since the element is inclined position, we have to use the distance between the 2 point equation. So this is a root of x3 minus x2 whole square plus y3 minus y2 whole square. Substitute the coordinates values. We are getting the length of the element L2 is equal to 901.38 mm. So we are simplifying as 901.4 mm. This is the element length for second element. We have to find the cos theta sin theta value. Cos theta value x3 minus x2 by L2. This is the equation. Final node minus first node. So now 0 minus 750, 901.4. It is coming around minus 0.832 cos theta. Similarly, sin theta is y3 minus y2 divided by L2. 0 minus 500 divided by 901.4. It is coming as minus 0.555. So we have to find the cos square theta. Cos square theta is 0.692. Sin square theta is 0.308. Cos theta sin theta is 0.462. Since the truss element is inclined position, we are getting cos theta sin theta value like this, and cos square theta sin square theta cos theta sin theta, all the values are we are getting. If the truss member is horizontal and vertical, then the forming the element characteristic equation is very easy. But if it is at inclined position, we get all the terms in our element characteristic equation. Let us see. So this is second element characteristic equation. A2 E2 divided by L2 C square S square CS CS. This is this matrix, and here the nodal parameter U2 V2 U3 V3, and force components F2x F2y F3x F3y. Now substitute the value. A2 is 1250 mm square. Young's modulus E2 is 2 into 10 power 5 Newton per mm square. Then length is 901.4 mm. So here we have to substitute C square 0.692 and CS value 0.462, and here 0.462 and 0.308. These terms will be repeated to form the 4 by 4 matrix. So here the nodal parameter in the right hand side we are writing F2x 0, F2y is again half of the load P by 2, so minus 2500, and F3x F3y will become reaction force R3x and R3y because it is supported point. One more point we have to remember. So whenever you have the values like this cos theta sin theta term, when we evaluate, it is better to keep up to 3 decimal places. Otherwise we will end up with some error in answer. This type of error is called rounding off error. So if you want to minimize that rounding off error, we have to consider as much as possible decimal places, but here when we are doing manually, we can restrict ourselves up to 3 decimal places. For manual calculation purpose, up to 3 decimal places is encouraged. All the time we are using the 3 decimal places. It is very important. Suppose here itself we reduced the decimal places. Instead of using the 0.692, if you use 0.7 and here 0.3, then we will get a different answer. So to avoid that, we can use at least 3 decimal places in each term. So here we are using all the 3 decimal places, right, for getting the better accurate solution. That is the reason. Now this is the final element characteristic equation for element 2. So 10 power 5 is taken common, and here 1.92, 1.282, 1.282, 0.854. After multiplying this constant, so this is 1250 into 2 divided by 901.4 is taken inside this matrix. Then the 10 power 5 is kept outside the matrix. So we are getting like this: 1.92, 1.282, 0.854, like this. U2 V2, U3 V3. In the right hand side, 0 minus 2500 R3x R3y. So this is the element characteristic equation for the second element. We have to formulate the global characteristic equation. Formulation of the global characteristic equation. So for easy understanding purpose, again I am showing the element equation 1 and the element equation 2 here. When you assemble the two element characteristic equation, the best way of assembling is we have to use the numberings like this. These numbers are called row number and column number to indicate the element of the matrices. In the first equation, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 degrees of freedom. This is used for U1. The second number denotes the V1. Third is U2 and the fourth one is V2, like that. So for each degree of freedom, we will get a one row, one column. In the second element, we have 3, 4, 5, 6, because here we have U2 for 3. So the same number we are using, and V2 4, and this is U3 and this is for V3. So when you assemble the matrices, you have to carefully assemble the common elements of the matrices. Here 3, 4, this 3, 4. So these elements are there in the element equation 1. Similarly, these 3, 4 element also there in the second equation. So these 4 elements should be properly ordered. So remaining elements can formed as a 6 by 6 matrix. Okay, because total degree of freedom going to be 6, U1 V1, U2 V2, U3 V3. So the global characteristic equation, the stiffness matrix size will be 6 by 6. After adding these common node properties, we will get the 6 by 6 matrix like this. The numbering is given 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for each degrees of freedom. Here the total degree of freedom is U1 V1, U2 V2, U3 V3. So 6 degrees of freedom. These are the common node elements which are added. So 4.587. How 4.587? 2.667 is added with 1.92. So that is why we are getting 4.587 like this. And this here we have zeros. So that is why all these three terms are coming. 1.282, 0.854 is coming as it is. The remaining equation we can formulate as a 6 by 6 matrix, and already we explained this procedure in the earlier part. So same procedure we have to follow. And the right hand side also we have to add the force components. Here in the right hand side, the force component of common node. So U2 V2 and U2 V2 here. So 0 and minus 2500 minus 2500 is added. Finally you get 0 minus 5000 like this. So these are the global characteristic equation. After this we have to apply the boundary condition. So applying the boundary condition for this truss problem, node 1 is a supported end, node 3 is also supported end. So node 1 we have 2 degrees of freedom, U1 V1. So because it is supported, we will make U1 is 0, V1 is 0. So corresponding rows and columns can be eliminated. For U1, row 1, column 1, V1, row 2, column 2 can be eliminated. Similarly, for node 3, since node 3 is supported node, the degrees of freedom U3 will be 0 and V3 will be 0. Then corresponding row and columns, row 5, column 5 and row 6, column 6 can be eliminated. How to eliminate this one? This is the global characteristic equation. Since U1 is 0, we are eliminating the corresponding the row 1 and the column 1. Like so, V1 is also 0. So, we are eliminating this row 2 and column 2. So, U3 is 0. Eliminate this row 5 and column 5. V3 0. So, row 6 and column 6 eliminated. Remaining is only this 2 by 2 matrix. And in the right hand side also, after eliminating all these things, we will get the remaining is 0 and minus 5000. It is a 2 by 2 matrix. We can easily solve this 2 by 2 matrix using the calculator. The solution is the 10 to the power 5. So this remaining 2 by 2 matrix and U2 V2 the unknown displacement, and the right hand side 0 minus 5000. We can solve this matrix using the calculator. So when we solve this equation, U2 displacement we are taking 0.028 mm and V2 as minus 0.1 mm. Here also we have to keep up to 3 decimal places our answer. And why we are getting U2 as positive, V2 as negative? Because the load acting on the truss is vertically downwards. Then what will be the effect of this external load? This will tend to elongate the element 1, that is truss element 1, and it will tend to compress the element 2. That is why we are getting the U2 value as a positive and V2 value as a negative value, right? Minus 0.1. Here it is positive 0.028 mm. You should know how to interpret the result also. After knowing this nodal displacement, we have to find the stresses and the reaction forces. We will see evaluation of the element stresses. So first we will take up the element 1. This is element 1 is this horizontal element. Directly we can use this equation for truss element E1 by L1 minus C minus S C S U1 V1 U2 V2. So substitute the value. E1 is 2 into 10 power 5, L1 is 750 and minus C is minus 1, S is 0, then 1 0. Here U1 0, V1 0, U2 is 0.028, then V2 is minus 0.1. Multiply this row matrix and the column matrix, we will get 1 into 0.028 because all other terms are 0. And multiplying with this constant, finally we are getting sigma 1 stress for element 1, 7.467 Newton per mm square. So 1 Newton per mm square is 1 megapascal. So 7.467 megapascal. This is positive value. Positive value indicates that this stress is tensile nature, right? This tensile nature because displacement of node 2 already we discussed. Because of this force P, the element 1 will be tend to be elongated. That is why it is subjected to tensile stress. And when you see the second element is compressed due to this external force, so it will be subjected to a compressed stress. Let us see that the sigma 2 is equal to E2 L2 minus C minus S C S U2 V2 U3 V3. Now E2 is 2 into 10 power 5, L2 is 901.4, then minus C value 0.832, then minus S 0.555, minus 0.832 minus 0.555, and U2 is 0.08, V2 is 0.1, and U3 V3 0. So multiply this row matrix and the column matrix and multiply with this constant. Finally we are getting sigma 2 as a minus 7.145 Newton per mm square. The minus sign indicates compressive stress. The load is acting as a compressive load for the element 2, that is why we are getting the compressive stress. So now we have to evaluate the reaction forces. We will see how to evaluate the reaction force. For this we have to use the global characteristic equation. So we have to evaluate the reaction at node 1 and the reaction at node 3. Node 1 we have R1x, R1y, node 3 R3x, R3y. For each reaction component, we have to refer the global characteristic equation. This is the global characteristic equation. In this, for evaluating the R1x, we have to take the first row. This should be multiplied with this degrees of freedom and it will be equal to R1x. When you multiply this and this, here we know U1 V1 0, U3 V3 0. So remaining is only U2 V2. When you multiply this one, minus 2.667 U2 is equal to R1x, because this V2 component, this is also 0. 10 to the power 5 minus 2.667 multiplied by U2 equal to R1x. Substitute the U2 value 0.028. So you are getting the R1x value as minus 7467.6 Newton. So why we are getting the negative sign? Initially, when you formulate finite element model, the unknown reaction force is considered as the positive force. After evaluation, we are getting the negative sign that indicates the assumed direction is wrong. So initially we assumed the reaction force R1x like this. Since we are getting this negative sign, we have to know that the reaction force is acting in this direction. R1x is negative and R1y is 0. Why R1y is 0? In this equation, R1y is the second one. For this, we have to consider the second row. So in the second row, all the elements are 0. So directly we can write R1y is equal to 0. R1y equal to 0. So R1x and R1y we found out. Similarly, we have to find R3x, R3y. For R3x, we have to again consider the global characteristic equation. This is R3x. For R3x, so we have to consider this row. Fifth row should be multiplied with this nodal displacement. We have to multiply these two terms. Minus 1.92 U2 minus 1.282 V2 is equal to R3x. 10 power 5 common. Minus 1.92 U2 minus 1.282 V2. Substitute the U2 value and the V2 value. Then you have to find out this R3x. So R3x is coming around 7444 Newton. Positive. That means here also we assumed in this direction. Since we are getting the positive sign, we can understand that the assumed direction is correct. Now coming to R3y, we have to consider the last row, sixth row. So this is should be multiplied with the nodal displacement. You will get R3y. We have to multiply minus 1.282 U2 minus 0.854 V2 is equal to R3y. 10 to the power 5 minus 1.282 U2 minus 0.854 V2. Now U2 and V2 we are substituting. We are getting the value of R3y 4950.4 Newton. This is also positive y-axis direction. So R3y direction is also correct. We can use these reaction components to check our answer what we have evaluated U2 V2 answer. We know that some of the reaction forces will be equal and opposite to the external forces acting on the body. When you add this x component R3x and R1x, so this actually it should be two equal and opposite components. Because of the rounding of error, we are getting slight variation. This R3x and R1x will be equal and opposite, they will nullify each other. And when we come to the y component, R1y plus R3y will be equal and opposite to that external force 5 kN. So the 5 kN is acting downwards, so minus 5000. So we are getting R3y is nearly 5000 Newton, 4950. So this difference is because of the rounding of error only. So when we use computer to solve this problem, we may get the solution, exact solution. So in computer they will use more decimal places to solve the problem. So in this way we can check this nodal displacement calculated using the finite element method. In this part we have taken one 2-bar truss problem and we applied all the procedure to solve the unknown displacement and we evaluated the element stresses and also reaction forces. Thank you for your passion listening.